English translation, 137th contact, Saturday, 18th of October, 1980, 22:47 ARs.
You are rather late when I still have to prepare the questions.
There are not very many, and besides, you can still carry out the test on Sunday.
But I still have all kinds of other work to do.
Sure, but you will still have enough time, even if you prepare the questions on Saturday. I have marked them here for you so that you can work them out through these notes.
Good. Then I am just wondering, what will result from the test?
So are we. Everything that has happened so far has been negative, so it follows that the test results will be the same.
That is probably to be feared.
It is only a logical conclusion. However, we would be glad to be taught otherwise.
You have hopes. I can no longer dwell on such for a long time.
This has taken its toll on you. But today, let everything be good and wait for the test results. On the other hand, I do not have much time today because I still have other tasks to do tonight.
I do not want to stop you. Nevertheless, I still have another question.
Sure, if it is so important.
I think so. But you know that we must plant a lot of young trees. In regards to this, I am not sure about how we should calculate the distance between the individual plants, so that there is enough living space for every single plant. I was of the personal opinion that it would have to be about 2 meters, while Jacobus thought that 150 centimeters would be enough. Concerning this, I would like to ask Quetzal what he thinks about this.
If you have patience, then I can give you his answer when I pick up the test results. Unfortunately, I currently cannot reach Quetzal, either personally or by our communication device, because he is staying in another time dimension. As soon as he returns to our time dimension, however, then he will call me, and then I can convey your question to him and can then receive his answer.
Okay.
Then we will say goodbye again for now. Farewell, my friend, and take care of your health.
I will.
That is good, because recently your appearance has become better, which can be attributed partly to your own efforts and a good part to Quetzal's apparatus.
The machine helps me very much. I feel this myself.
Let the apparatus have a further effect on you, because it is, together with your own and much-needed efforts, the only effective way to improve your health. Also, always remember that it is urgently necessary to protect yourself from any excitement. In particular, do not allow yourself to enter into any quarrels in this regard, or allow yourself any unnecessary internal turmoil, such as, for example, if our or your orders are not obeyed, which always especially excites you because such an action is so illogical to you that you cannot understand it. Indeed, it cannot be supposed that after every new matter, our and your orders are ignored again, and that such orders bring about a negative attitude, because every single group member should understand by now that only proper acting and thinking will allow a continued existence and a continuance of all things. But if renewed offenses should appear despite this expectation and hope, then it would be better for your health if you, as you have already repeatedly wanted to do, would abandon the mission.
Ah, now you have really become more clever.
Under the present circumstances, such a step is no longer to be expected, but on the other hand, we realize that we have simply expected too much from you. If we had put one of our androids in your position, then he would have destroyed himself if all of this illogicalness had arisen.
You have strange jokes in stock.
No, because my words correspond to the truth. We actually expected too much from you. A test has proven this. Quetzal came up with the idea.
He has always had crazy ideas. What has he tested then?
He wanted to know to what extent a half-organic apparatus could bear the illogicalness that has crept into the group.
So nevertheless, a crazy idea. But at the same time, what happened?
A very bad result. You would describe it as devastating.
You always make me more and more curious. Can you not finally rush the rabbit out of the cabbage garden?
Sure, Quetzal programmed an android with all records of negating and negative forms of all group members. The results were awful.
Well, and
These stored illogical modes of acting and thinking led to the fact that the android became crazy in all of its actions and speeches.
nevertheless, that is not so bad. But I do not think it was nice of Quetzal to abuse an android for this.
He developed his apparatus for this purpose. In addition, you do not understand the whole scope of the experiment. Our androids are programmed based on absolute logic in thinking and acting, and these abilities surpass even our own respective abilities and potential. Now, during the transfer of data, Quetzal also paid close attention to the fact that your own data of your work and all your efforts toward the Idoriti instruction of the group members and all their interests became programmed into the second android. Thus, the exact situation arose in the two androids, which included everything that happened between you and the group members since the beginning. On the one hand, the overall view of the group members was placed into the first android, and on the other hand, your data was placed into the second android. Expecting something terrible to happen, Quetzal placed both androids in an old beam ship in the vicinity of the planet Pluto, where he then activated them and they began to live. Then, on our view screens, we could watch the terrible sight. Already after a few minutes, the android programmed with your data began to become visibly ill, while our recording devices registered an action of complete helplessness. Soon, completely apathetically, it wanted to destroy itself, but then suddenly, in the very next moment, it senselessly and angrily raised its voice. Meanwhile, the second android spoke absolutely crazy words without thinking and manipulated all of the ship's apparatuses without sense or purpose. Despite the visible internal difficulty of the android programmed with your data, it tried again and again to bring the other android, stored with the illogical data, to its senses, which it apparently managed to do quite often. But truthfully, this was only apparent, for as our recording devices clearly determined, the attempts of reconciliation and reason only worked so far that the logic of the words of the android representing you released reassuring impulses, while the second android did not at all have in mind to make the logical explanations its own. The investigations of the registry devices unambiguously proved that the negatively programmed android had developed a blatant form of self-addiction, egoism and individualism, as well as a lust for power. And, despite the superficial acknowledgement of the logical explanations offered to it, etc., was unwilling to actually adopt them. Truthfully, as the recording devices unambiguously showed, it only wanted its own will to count and to enforce it, which finally went so far that your android rapidly deteriorated and suddenly became crazy. As we could see from our devices, his artificial organic brain mass slowly began to cook and to steam. Then there was an explosion, and his head was torn up beyond all recognition. Meanwhile, the other android, who only cared about this briefly, continued to act completely illogically and, moreover, spoke very confused and crazy things. Then the moment came when he wildly and senselessly hit the ship's equipment and created an inferno, when he accidentally touched the automatic self-destruct mechanism of the ship, and it was destroyed in an immense explosion.
I would have wanted to see that.
For us, it was proof that we had expected inhuman traits from you. What an android cannot take, a human life form cannot take either. Only through Quetzal's test could we grasp the full scope of what had caved in on you over all the years.
In any case, I am still alive.
Certainly, but this is just incomprehensible to us. which is why we wanted to clarify these things thoroughly together with you. Through all of our analyses, etc., we still did not know enough, which is why the self-destruction of the androids had to reveal the whole scope to us.
Actually, you also cannot fathom everything in me, because you have kindly taught me yourself how I can shield myself from the outside, so that even you cannot penetrate into me anymore.
Certainly, and that was a very bad mistake of mine, for which I must constantly reprimand myself. Your innermost self must look very bad, even much more worse than I was able to recognize at that time when you destroyed all your feelings in yourself. That process of yours was also the reason why Quetzal carried out this horrible test.
I thought that you were in a hurry.
Sure, but I still wanted to present these incidents to you. And besides, I wanted to assure you that we stand completely on your side if further negative incidents should cause you to quit, but even with everything, we do not expect that. Moreover, I would still like to ask you that, in the future, you devote yourself to a daily study, which I will pursue together with you in a telepathic manner. It will be very difficult and strength-consuming, but it is of urgent necessity for you.
And what will it focus on?
On the regeneration of your psyche, which is very ill. In addition, it also concerns a tremendous expansion of knowledge with respect to psychic interests in general.
Then I am on it.
As I already mentioned, your whole health has recently made good progress, which we do not want to leave unnoticed. Therefore, the new study relating to this will be necessary. And now that we can cherish the hope that you will not be discouraged again by setbacks from the group members, we do not want to let these things go unnoticed. But now it is really time that I must go. And still think everything over some time. Goodbye, see you soon.
Take care, girl, and many thanks.